What's good, Savages? Welcome to the WrestleMania edition of Blue Collar Sports. I'm Savage Paulson, and with me, as always, is the voice of the Trenton Golden Hawks and our very own sports Yoda, Zach McGibbon. What's good, Zach?
I'm good. Sports Yoda. I love that.
Dude,
that's so good.
They're getting harder to broad. I had to spend like 15 minutes trying to come up with one. Every time I ask ChatGPT for options, he always gives me the same one. I'm like, dude, you got to give me some more stuff.
You got to give me more variety. That's a good one, though. My goodness, I love that one.
I'll mark that one. Number one on the list right now. Zach, we are less than 48 hours away from night one of WrestleMania 41. I know you have your very own Wrestle podcast as well, but I thought we'd spend all this episode talking about all the matches from night one to night two to see if our thoughts on the matches, our predictions, and also if we think there's going to be any big surprise returns, maybe what the match of the night or match of the weekend, I guess you could say, you think it's going to be. I've been reading a lot about WrestleMania 41 in the last couple of days, and I've seen a lot of, I wouldn't say negative press on it, but I don't think a lot of people think that this is the strongest card that they've put forth. I think it has the potential to be a great both nights. I think there's a potential to have great matches and great storyline. Obviously, it's WrestleMania. I can't wait to see the spectacle of it all. So I'm excited about it.
It was funny because I was just I finished up the latest episode of This Is Wrestling, which is the wrestling podcast, as you mentioned. So if people wanted to listen to that, there's a bunch of stuff that we do there. Dark Side of the Ring reviews as well. So it's a wide range of wrestling stuff. But we just finished our own sort of predictions episode, and the big vibe that we got, both myself and my co-host Lever Sage, is that we weren't really feeling the WrestleMania card either, to say the least. I was especially critical of it because it's just me. But I thought that the build over the last little bit, last time I think we talked about wrestling here on this podcast was the John Cena heel turn and how that was a very impactful heel turn. But I think since then, what we've seen with the angles, they haven't really related it back to what happened with The Rock and Travis Scott as well. And there's been some other issues I found with it. And I'm still looking forward to the match. It's one of the two matches for me that I'm really looking forward to. But my overall thing with WrestleMania this year is that I have found the build to be pretty lackluster going into this show. And I was kind of hoping for more from the weekly TV going in. And so it's been a little bit tough. There are some matches that, I think are kind of going under the radar in terms of what could be great matches. But in terms of the actual build of the card itself, I have felt a little bit lackluster when it comes to the build.
I agree with you. I think especially with the John Cena, Cody Rhodes, it was such a big, and I'm excited to talk to you about it for two reasons about that match. Because the last time we spoke about it, we did speak about the heel turn, but I remember even before that, before the heel turn, I think it was right before Elimination Chamber, you predicted before Elimination Chamber that John Cena was going to win Elimination Chamber and go on to WrestleMania and win his world title. Now, I want to know if that's still your thoughts. Obviously, we'll get to it. That'll be the last match that we could speak about because that was before the heel turn. And for me, the heel turn was huge. And I expected a heel turn. I just expected it from Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber. I really thought that they need. I expected John Cena to win the Chamber, but I knew that you couldn't go into WrestleMania having two big babyface go up against each other because I thought that was going to be a waste of building storytelling. And then they gave us the big heel turn, the unexpected heel turn. And then since then, there has been no connection made with The Rock where The Rock was there. So it leads me to either believe that there's going to be something else added to this storyline during WrestleMania or it's just going to fall flat. And I hope that's not the story. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I think could have been done a lot better. I feel like they dropped the ball on building a lot of these matches from the Flair to the Tiffany Stratton. I thought was these two athletes I'm big on Stratton. I think she's a future superstar, but ever since they brought her to the main, it's been kind of playing second fiddle to a lot of other people. Before it was with Nia Jax, and even now that they placed the title on her, I feel like They might have just placed the title on her so she could drop it to Charlotte Flair, which I'm hoping is not what happens, but I have a bad feeling that that just might be to pad Flair's number. If we look at night one, let's go right into it so we can get to talking. And as we go along the matches, you can tell me your thoughts on your excitement level of each match and your build up. Night one, we have War Raiders versus a New Day for the tag team titles over here, which are, it's for the Raw tag team titles. Am I wrong about this?
I believe you are correct.
Right,
yes.
right. For the Raw tag team titles. So here's my thing with the New Day. I love their heel turn. I love the work they're doing right now. I think the WWE is all in on them as a heel. The thing that I'm projecting from them is a future build to a hopeful. I think this is something that I had in my mind when they went heels, that especially when they were pinned against the War Raiders, is that eventually down the road we would see a New Day Usos again. Might not happen. Obviously, you got Jey Uso against Gunther. There's a lot of variables there, but I love the New Day as heels here, and the War Raiders are just machines, and I love them. I just feel like the WWE has not been able to build them as proper champions, give them good matches, either it be on PLE or even on Raw or SmackDown, or I think they're just on Raw, but even on television. They've had some good matches there. I mean, just the visual of them, I mean, they should be the type of team that should be built as unbeatable to me. They're just two vicious, big brood of men, but they've always kind of fell flat for me. I don't know if it's the build or the maybe they weren't matched up properly, but I expect this to be a great tag team matchup. I think it's going to be early in the card, maybe a number 2, number 3, or maybe a popcorn match of some sort. I don't know what the list is exactly, but my prediction here is that the New Day as heels are going to come out on top, and we are going to see New Day come out as tag team champions. So from there, after WrestleMania, they'll be able to build new tag teams to kind of babyface tag teams to chase the champions and just go from there. I mean, if you think of all the tag teams that were kind of in the mix in the last few months, from I don't even know what their name is, the Detroit City Machine Guns, I think that's
the Motor City Machine Guns.
Motor City Machine Guns.
Yes.
And the DIY, which I thought, the DIY at one point I thought were Triple H's new babies. You know, I thought he was going to keep the belt on them till WrestleMania, and then all of a sudden, bang, bang, boom, something else happens. I think it's because of the reception of what the New Day, I think they were kind of had to swerve and go like, look, the New Day are hot as heels. They're getting booed out of the building. I think they're going to finish on top versus the War Raiders on Saturday. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think that a New Day will get the victory here. I've kind of been with their heel turn. The initial heel turn I thought was really strong, especially that segment they had with Big E. Really kind of solidified their heel turn. But since then, it's kind of been the same segments where they go out and they get booed out, and there hasn't really been that evolution and that more depth of their characters. And so I don't think they are as hot as they used to be once that heel turn came in. Having said all of that, while I agree, I like the War Raiders. I wish they could do more with them.
Yes.
I've always been a big fan of the big tag teams, you know, your old school Road Warriors, or, you know, even the Steiners, you could argue, are just these big guys that are able to throw people around. They've never been able to find out how to make the War Raiders sort of that legit tag team. I don't know if it's just like a stylistic fit with WWE, because I've seen them have some great matches in other promotions like Ring of Honor, when Ring of Honor at its peak, and some indies. But it seems like with WWE, they've never really hit that stride that you would kind of hope for with those two, with Hanson and Rowe. And so I think they're going to move forward with this, continue to cement this heel turn, as you mentioned. And I think it's all systems a go on New Day, and they're going to win the tag belts.
Any chance we see Big E on Saturday?
It's funny, Lee asked me the same question, and I was thinking yes, but I think they're saving the Big E stuff for a little bit later, because if Big E shows up, in my mind, that would mean he's costing New Day a chance of those titles, and the titles stay on the War Raiders. But I think there's more that they could do, so I don't think the Big E stuff is going to happen quite yet. He might make an appearance after they win the belts. That might be possible, but I don't think we're going to see Big E out there just yet for Mania.
I agree with you. I've read about it, and I think it's one of the names for a surprise return. You know, there's always someone that shows up, and someone had mentioned Big E, and I think it's going to be New Day's night, and we're going to see them try to build them back up as these big heels going forward, so that we could have some new babyface chasing them down the line.
For sure.
Another match on night one, I should say, is Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. I will laugh out of my chair if this match is sponsored by Starbucks. I just feel like El Grande Americano is a drink that I actually order every time I go to Starbucks. It's exactly what it is. I'm like, I'll have a Grande Americano. We all know it's Chad Gable behind the mask, obviously.
Is it? Are we sure it's Chad Gable?
Listen, honestly, for the first few times, I thought it was someone else because I had read online that there was someone else behind. I can't remember who they said it was, but then I noticed that he had bloody knuckles. Anyway, it might be somebody different, but let's keep it kayfabe a little bit. El Grande Americano, obviously, he's been using this loaded mask to finish off his matches in the last few weeks. Look, I'm a huge fan of El Grande Americano, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, whoever he is. I've always been a fan of his, but people are making fun that Chad Gable was not gonna have a match at WrestleMania, and I was like, yeah, I guess it's like it's kind of funny because we've never seen him, I believe, at WrestleMania, or especially on the main card. You have a Hall of Famer here in Rey Mysterio that's just been every single Monday. He comes out. The crowd loves him. I get why they keep putting him on TV with the LWO. I mean, he sells merch most likely, and kids love him. He's just great in the ring. He's great at putting other guys over, these heels. And with American Made in his corner, El Grande Americano, I expect some buffoonery a little bit, but at the end of the day, I was going back and forth here, but I think El Grande Americano is going to get the W. Now, is he going to get unmasked or whatever it's going to be? I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I think they can't keep going with that gimmick, or maybe they will, but I think El Grande Americano here gets the W. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I'm also picking El Grande Americano. I can relate to him in a lot of ways where they think he's somebody else. You know, there's a lot of people think I'm Hornswoggle, as you know, and that's just like, we all know that's just patently untrue, right? So absolutely. I can relate. Of course. What do you mean, wink, wink? I'm not Hornswoggle at all. You know, I can understand. I can relate to El Grande Americano in a sense. And so, I mean, it could be anybody under that mask. It could be Hulk Hogan for all we know. But nonetheless.
Yeah. Some weight, yeah. He's getting shorter with his bad back, you know.
That's right. The tan's there for sure, so it could be possible. Yeah, so I think it's going to be El Grande Americano. I think they want to continue to showcase whoever it is that's under the mask on that gimmick. And like what you said with Rey Mysterio, it's been incredible to see the stem cells that he's been putting in, and just especially that style of match that he's put together for so many years, getting into 50. It's still to be able to perform at a high level is incredible. So if we get that high level Rey Mysterio and Chad Gable, like Gable's a guy I don't think people realize, or sorry, El Grande Americano, yes. My apologies. I don't think they realize that he studies a lot of wrestling tapes. Right. He really digs deep on his history, and so he goes back to old wrestling territory stuff and some old lucha. So I'm sure this is something that's like really piqued his interest, and so I think these two will go out there and this is one of those under the radar matches that I think could be really, really fun.
Absolutely.
And that's the big thing. And that's with a lot of the matches. Like, I'm sure a lot of the wrestlers, because it's WrestleMania, you kind of look at it on paper, and there are definitely things on paper for me that I'm not as interested in. But those are all going to be wrestlers. They realize the stage that it's on in WrestleMania, and they're going to go out there and give it 110% and give everything they've got. And I think this is one of those matches that could really benefit from that. So I am looking forward to this. I think it could be a lot more fun than what people are expecting. And like what you said, as a former Starbucks barista myself, used to work in the back. That. Oh yeah, I've had to serve Grande Americanos in the past, and so I'm going to stick with the tried and true and pick El Grande Americano.
One thing that impresses me about Rey Mysterio is you watch him wrestle now, and you watch old wrestling match of his. I always enjoy watching him and Guerrero in WCW or any of his WCW matches. His bumps are the same. He moves the same way. It's crazy because you watch him now, he never has a bad match. He's always in the right location. He's always in the right spot. He's selling. He's such a professional. And that's one of the reasons why they keep putting him on TV, just so he can put over talent. He's so great. I don't even know how old he is, to be honest.
I think he's close to 50.
It's
insane.
It's
insane.
It's really crazy because he goes out there every week. You see him on TV. He might not be having a match, but he's on TV. He's either doing promos and stuff. But every time he gets in the ring, he looks he's wrestling exactly the same as he did like 30 years ago. Like it's quite amazing. And this match, like you said, I think it's one of them that people are not going to, it might be one of those popcorn matches that people think I'm going to go take a piss break here. But
right.
I think this might fly under the radar as a potential match of night one here, potential of one of the top matches here, especially with the talent. Like you said, El Grande Americano is he's so good in the ring as well. I have always enjoyed watching him, and I'm excited for this match, even though there's no real stakes at hand here except maybe for the mask, but that's it. Next on the card is one of those matches that I think has not had any build at all. I don't remember the last time I saw anything about this match, and that's Jade Cargill versus a new heel Naomi. Look, I'm gonna pick Cargill here simply because the story dictates that the babyface go over here. You get blindsided, get attacked, put through a car, sidelined for weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden the storyline comes that Naomi was the one. And now I love what Naomi's doing. I think she could be a great heel. I hope that after WrestleMania is done and this is done, that she keeps going forward to work on that heel persona. I don't have much to say about this because honestly, the story kind of tells itself and there hasn't been really much of a build here. It's kind of been put on the back burner with all the other storylines. So I'm going to go with Cargill here. I don't have much to say about this match.
Yeah, I'm also picking Cargill. I have concerns going in. I'm not sure, especially in the case of Jade Cargill, if they can go in there and have a really good match, because
right.
We've seen, I just having watched Cargill since she's debuted in AEW, the big thing when she debuted in AEW is they protected her a lot. They put her in short matches and they didn't have her do too much, and they just let her get over with her charisma. Now, like, we're a couple years in and she hasn't really gotten out of that stage where she can go out there and have a long 10, 12-minute match.
Right.
So I have my concerns with this, and with Naomi, I think she's kind of in the back half of her in-ring career. I don't think she's a wrestler that you can go out there and have her lead a match. I think she's somebody that has to be led, if that makes any sense. So I have some concerns going in. I think this is going to be a big prove it match for Jade Cargill because this is a singles match. It's in a big stage like WrestleMania, and she has to go out there. And this story for me, it's not my kind of thing. It's not my kind of story, what I look for. And I have some concerns about how it will lay out. I could be wrong. And maybe they are able to put together a decent match, but I'm going into this with some low expectations, and I'm also going to pick Jade Cargill to get the victory.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one on the card, LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu for the United States Championship. This is another potentially great match. Jacob Fatu is just a beast in the ring. I mean, he came into the WWE, and ever since then, he's just been attached a rocket to this guy and let him do whatever he wants. He's just an absolute animal in the ring. I think the potential the ceiling for this guy is extremely high. You just have to slowly build him correctly. I think it's a bit early to put the belt on him, but I'm still going to pick Jacob Fatu to get over here and become the new United States champion. I think there's a potential baby face turn here at some point. I don't know, we're going to see it at WrestleMania. There may be something with Solo. I'm not quite sure. Again, I think this has been very short build for this match. They've gone back and forth to try to determine who the challenger was, and it was only a few weeks ago. And ever since then, maybe I'm missing something, but I'm pretty sure I haven't seen much of a build. I love LA Knight. He's a constant professional. I think he has the potential to be a mid-carder. I don't think he's the type of guy you'd ever put the the WWE Championship on. Maybe he moves on to challenging for the Intercontinental after WrestleMania with this title run. I mean, he is a two-time United States champion. But I think at this point in his career, at this point in his venture in WWE, I think he drops the belt to Jacob on the Saturday.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength here on a lot of these. I'm also picking Jacob Fatu. I'm hoping that they really have Jacob Fatu. Calling me crazy here, but I think he should be just a dominant victory. Just like 5 minutes, just throw him around. I think he's somebody, like you mentioned, who's continuing to get over with this crowd. I think you kind of go with him and see where you could go. Having had the chance to see him and see what he's able to do live, he is such a, like, you kind of see a guy that size, but he's so agile as well, and he just flies in the ring. It's really something to watch.
Blows my mind. It's
incredible. And LA Knight, so the thing with him is, like, I find him to be a fine, solid enough wrestler, but what really kind of helps carry him is he is so charismatic, and he's got very good promo ability. I don't think he's at the same peak in terms of, like, crowd reactions and whatnot than what we saw a few years ago with him.
Yeah.
But like what you said, I think he's a perfectly solid mid-card, upper mid-card guy. The guy you can rely on to go out there and get good reactions and be over with the crowd.
Yeah.
And I think if you have Jacob Fatu beat him in a dominant way, I think it will really mean something in terms of his win. And you could continue to see where he goes from there. And the big thing with a guy like him is you could still have him as a heel, but because of the kind of gimmick where he could just be an ass kicker, where that is slowly over time, people love watching people beat up other people, right? And so
he reminds me of Braun Breaker, where like they brought him in as this big heel, but then he's so explosive and so crazy in the ring that you can't boo him. He's just a destroyer of whoever you put in there. I think they have like the same momentum going, these two. And I think that at a certain point, having these two in the match is just going to be super chaotic and just amazing. I don't think it's there yet. I think Jacob Fatu is the type of guy, though, yet you really want to. I think the crowd got behind him so much with the Bloodline story that it overshadowed the Solo Sikoa. He was kind of put on the back burner, and then people kind of realized, like, yeah, I think we should put our eggs in this basket instead of this basket. I think the WWE pulled a swerve there. But yeah, I think Jacob Fatu gets over here, and I think, like you, I wouldn't hate on him doing it in a 6-minute match where he just completely destroys LA Knight.
Yeah, like an extended squash in a way, right?
Right. You let LA Knight get the early advantage out of, but then after that, it's just beat down, and 1, 2, 3. I think it would be great for him. It would definitely build him as a legitimate champion, and then it would just elevate the title as well as the wrestler. It'd be good.
For sure.
Next on the card, again, I don't know exactly the list. I don't know what the order, but we'll just go from what I wrote. You got the match that I spoke about a bit earlier. Is the Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the Women's Championship. Yeah, I was back and forth about this. I underlined Stratton here because I want to believe that the WWE is just going to use Charlotte Flair as just a big opponent so that they can elevate Tiffany. But everything up to this point is just has not convinced me that that's the direction WWE wants to go. Either they're not convinced that she is championship material, Tiffany Stratton, yet, or they just, I don't know. So I'm actually going to change my pick here. I think I'm going to go with Flair. I think that the WWE, I mean, my instinct, my first thought when I saw this match was like, yeah, I'm happy Flair won the Rumble to get this match, but I'm like, it's just kind of predictable, I think, where they're going, where they're just going to take the belt away from Tiffany Stratton such a short amount of time. I think they have the potential to have the match of the night here. I think these two great athletes in the ring, I mean, we all seen what Charlotte Flair could do in the ring. She's amazing when she's on, and she's rarely off. I haven't seen a good match from Tiffany Stratton ever since she won the championship. Number one, I don't think she's had many title defenses, number one. But every time I've seen her in the ring, it's like they're not putting in. She has the potential to be one of the greatest performer in my opinion. I remember her as in the NXT and I was blown away. I thought she had the potential to just come on the main roster and blow everybody away. And when they put her with this little backup gimmick with Nia Jax, I was a bit disappointed. But I thought to myself, oh, well, you know, you just bring her on and there's so many talent on the main roster. You got to kind of find your way. And then when they put the belt on her, I'm like, there we go. And then it kind of fizzled out. And I'm very disappointed because she is one of my favorite performer on the roster. So I'm going to go with Flair here. I think Flair becomes the new WWE Women's Champion.
I'm also picking Charlotte Flair. Going into this, I wasn't really feeling the feud. I will say, I was interested in the feud in the sense that we saw that promo on SmackDown a few weeks ago where things just broke down and seemed like real life was kind of coming into play, and both were trying to get words in on one another. And we've been hearing about these two they're not going to be exchanging Christmas cards at the end of the year. It sounds like they're not exactly buddy. So there is kind of an intrigue there, because when that segment happened, I was like, well, this kind of injected some new life into the feud, but not because of the build, more because I don't know if these two will be able to kind of get along if this is how a segment on WWE TV, where it's a very controlled environment, and if it breaks down like that.
I will say this, though, to add to this, I think that when those things happen, and if they are real, that a lot of the times they end up being able to put forth an amazing match just because of
absolutely. Yeah.
One wants to overdo and overtake one wants to overdo the other one and overperform.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so
I think that's potential.
Absolutely. I that's one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to it. And the thing with Charlotte Flair is we're going to find out which Charlotte Flair is going to show up at WrestleMania. Is this the Charlotte Flair that had that really great match with Rhea Ripley a few years ago? Yeah. That was such a tremendous match. I really enjoyed that. That might be one of my more favorite women's matches that WWE have ever put together. Or is this the Charlotte Flair we've been seeing in recent months where it seems like she hasn't found that, for lack of a better term, flair that she used to have.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little concerned there. With Tiffany Stratton, she was somebody I think, like you, thought very highly of, still think very highly of, and could develop, but she's one of those cases where as soon as she got to the main roster, there's something has been missing there in terms of her getting over and getting to that next level. And I don't know what it is.
I think her as a face just doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's the big thing too. I think if she kind of, came in as a heel, I think it would have done so much more, especially with her confidence and getting comfortable in front of a camera. Because being a babyface, I mean, you could tell it better than I can, because since you've been in the ring, but being a babyface could be much tougher than being a heel.
It's absolutely, I've found it way harder to be a babyface than a heel. And the issue is that she was such a good heel.
Yeah.
And I think the WWE was just like, and I could see it. Flair versus Stratton, you look at them, they look the same. They're very physically put together the same. Their match, the way they wrestle is very similar. So it has the potential, again, to be the match of the night, the match of the weekend. I get it. But I think that WWE kind of got carried away with just the visual of both of them in the ring together instead of the story. Like I said before, I would have rather be like a Becky Lynch face versus a Tiffany Stratton heel. I think this match would have been, the build would have been a lot easier, or maybe even a Bayley face or anybody face, just a good face versus a Tiffany Stratton. Because on the mic, when she's a heel, she can spit like the best of them. And I feel like they forced this baby face turn on her, and she's kind of shied away from the limelight, I think.
Especially with, the last couple of weeks we've seen on promos with Charlotte Flair. I mean, Charlotte Flair has enough stroke in backstage to kind of get away with some things when it comes to what she could say on the microphone. Yeah. And so she's willing to do a lot more. And when you're a young wrestler and you're going out there and you're cutting a promo, and then all of a sudden, like, the vet who's kind of going in and having some extra little barbs in there, that can be overwhelming for a young wrestler, especially one that doesn't want to rock the boat, still kind of new to the main roster. And so I think that's why that little shoot segment where it broke down was just kind of like Tiffany Stratton saying, look, I got to protect myself here a little bit. It's kind of the same way when a shoot breaks down in an actual match, where you just have to start protecting yourself and you kind of have to, shoot back. Right. And so that's why I have some interest in this. As far as build itself, I mean, I think they've really kind of dropped the ball, and it's just a miscast of characters. And the big thing with this is we'll see which Charlotte Flair shows up at WrestleMania. If we get that high caliber, high level athlete that we usually see from her, this could be a really good match.
Absolutely.
But if it's the same wrestler we've been seeing, like we saw at the Rumble, where it just this confidence is missing, it's not the same. There's not that same it factor to her. Then this might be a little bit more of a rough one.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to another championship match, Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Championship. Man, I picked Gunther here because...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I'll say this. I know that this is a risky pick because I feel that the story that's being told here is Jey Uso is going over. He's made a turn in the last few weeks where he dresses in black and they're trying to put him over as this badass. The beatdown of his brother by Gunther, the blood, everything was just try to bring him out. I get the storyline. I get it. Everything tells me, yeah, but for me, I always think about what's after. So you're going to put the belt on Jey Uso, but then what? Like, how long can you keep Jey Uso? I feel like it might be the Kofi Kingston same thing. You're going to put the belt on him and then a few months later it's just going to get ripped out because, I mean, he's so over. I'm not the biggest fan of him in ring work. I feel he's a really good wrestler, but his in ring work, I feel sometimes is lackluster. I think this has the potential to be a great match. I mean, Gunther is an absolute animal, an absolute beast. And the reason I picked him here, and again, I think I'm wrong, but I'm going to stick to my guns and I'm going to stick with Gunther, is that I think Gunther deserves to be champion for way longer. And I think he deserves to elevate this championship even more. I can imagine that if he ends up dropping the belt, that he'll disappear for a month or two and then he'll come back and either chase on SmackDown. Maybe during the draft, he'll show up on SmackDown and start chasing. Maybe you'll see him versus Cody Rhodes or John Cena down the road to take the title away. But I'm going to stick with Gunther here simply because that was my initial pick. And I mean, I can't always go with what I think is, I think it's going to be a great match. But I think at the end of the day, Gunther's going to win.
Well, there you go. I think this is the first one where we disagree because I am picking Jey Uso. Roads lead to Jey Uso winning in my mind.
Yeah.
I have not been overly enthused by Jey Uso and his in-ring work in the last little bit. I've made it pretty clear in a couple episodes of This Is Wrestling, and I think the big thing with him going into this match is this is a big prove it match for him, at least for me, because I've seen time and time again when he's in a singles capacity. He had the main event against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam a few years ago, and that main event was not good. He had the match with his brother Jimmy at WrestleMania last year. That was not a good match either. And so he's had these opportunities singles match wise that he just has not been able to deliver. Now he's in a big time spot. He's challenging for a world championship. Obviously, people are yeeting and they're doing all the chants and the crowd work and whatnot. And he has certainly got a great entrance. I don't want to take that away from him, but it's the famous phrase that has kind of gone to wrestling, and then the bell rings, and then all of a sudden,
you're exposed.
I feel like
he's exposed.
He gets exposed, and then I even think, like, in terms of his crowd connection in a match, like his in-ring charisma kind of, I don't want to say evaporates, but it's significantly less than when he enters the ring.
Absolutely.
And so this is going to be a big test for him to show that, hey, I belong in this spot. This is a match that I deserve to win. And I've always said with WWE, they are a big moments company. They love talking about moments. And what's a bigger moment than 50, 60, 70,000 people, however many people are going to be in Las Vegas, chanting yeet while Jey Uso is up on the top rope with the World Championship belt and celebrating, right? So despite me not really wanting to see it, I am not exactly going out there and yeeting myself.
Yeah.
I am a no yeet sort of guy. But I'm a no yeet sort of guy. But Yeah, I think the way that they've kind of told this, I think you could have Jay win and then slowly, like, I don't think he's somebody that can hold the belt very long. You can have a heel kind of come in and take the belt back from him.
Right.
And you can kind of get him back on the chase because I think he's better at that as opposed to a lengthy title holder. So, but I'm picking Jay Uso.
Yeah, again, like I thought I'd pick Jey Uso, then I saw it underlined Gunther, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'll stick with Gunther. But yeah, like you, I know WWE is a big moment company. They want to see the moment. I think it'll be similar to Kofi Kingston, like I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Again, with you, I'm not convinced about his in-ring. It's like, I like what you said of the analogy of like, and then the bell rings and then it kind of fizzles down immediately, you know?
Yeah.
I kind of figure how the match is going to go. It's going to be a pretty bad beatdown, and he's just going to fight from under the whole time, which is pretty much the only way you're going to have this match. I mean, Gunther is by far the superior wrestler. You're just going to have to get the energy from the crowd and get the W. All right. First one, we disagree down the road, which leads me to the main event of night one. I was going to keep this to both main events maybe at the end, but well, fuck it. We'll talk about it anyway. Main event, night one of the matches that I'm most looking forward to here because I think there's so many potential here of swerves and what's going to happen. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk with Paul Heyman in his corner. We've all seen what happened. What the favor was. Now there's other favors getting thrown about with Seth Rollins. The rumors are the thing I've been reading, the big swerve is that we might see Paul Heyman swerve and screw Punk, screw Reigns, and then end up siding with Rollins, and then they move forward. I wouldn't hate on that. I didn't even underline anybody here when I wrote down my thing. I had no idea when I wrote down my notes who I was going to pick. My initial thought on this match was that it's going to be a great match. I think it has the potential to be the match of the weekend here. Obviously, Roman Reigns is in the match. When's the last time you've seen him in a match that wasn't a huge match or match of the night? He just delivers every single time. Seth Rollins, the same. CM Punk, the same. Paul Heyman has been I think the main focus here, and I think he's been the biggest part here. The way he sells, the way he just cries, and the way he is in the match during the promo, he's gold. I love him, and the work he's been able to do with this match in such a short amount of time here. I'm going to go with Rollins here. I'm going to go with the rumors. I think Paul Heyman sides with Rollins, and we see a heel Rollins from point moving forward here, and him and CM Punk can have this really big battle, this back and forth all the way to, I don't know, maybe SummerSlam, or like, I think they have the potential here. I think we'll see Reigns disappear after this match. I think he's going to take a break. I think either he goes to Hollywood or wherever he goes, but rumors are that the thought is that maybe he's on this end of his career with Roman Reigns. And look, I wouldn't be that happy about that. I think he still has the potential to be a great in-ring, but the Bloodline story was, I think, in my opinion, one of the, if not the best storyline in the history of the WWE. If you really think about how long it went and how many moving pieces and how intricate it was, from including Sami Zayn to the Usos to Bloodline to Sikoa and Fatu, the length of that storyline with Roman Reigns. I mean, he's put in the work. He's been the face of this company for a long time. His title reign was just great for the company. It elevated the championship and himself. But I think this is kind of the end of the road for him, maybe. And I'm going to go with Rollins here. And I'm going to go with Heyman siding with Rollins, and then moving forward, just Rollins and Punk for a long battle. Because I think that's all we're waiting for, is for them to really just get to it and finally get blow to blow to it.
Oh, it's interesting. That was going to be my big surprise take. It was going to be like, everyone's picking Punk and I'm picking Rollins, but we're on the same wavelength. So there you go. I'm also picking Rollins. So here's the thing with this story. It's not my kind of wrestling story. I'm not a big fan of the idea of everybody fighting for Paul Heyman. I get why
Right.
people are into it for the WWE audience and whatnot. Like, I guess that's where sometimes I disconnect with the WWE audience and what they want and what I personally want. So the big thing with that is it reminds me so much of the charm bracelet stuff last year between McIntyre and Punk. And I hated the charm bracelet stuff. I liked the feud between McIntyre and Punk. The Hell in a Cell match they had was fantastic. But my favorite matches all year from any promotion. I thought it was so good.
Yeah, it was great.
But I really did not like the charm bracelet stuff, and I thought it was WWE trying to inject their own storytelling items when it could have just easily been a blood feud between two guys that just don't like each other. And in this case, I see a lot of similarities with the charm bracelet stuff, but instead Paul Heyman's kind of human form of the charm bracelet where they're battling for him. And so I haven't loved this story from it, and especially with it being a main event. One of the things that was kind of pointed out was, you know, Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble, but he's not going to main event it. So he's probably going to open the show, to be quite honest.
Right.
But the people that lost to the Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, even though they lost to the Rumble, they all got eliminated. They got the main event of night one.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so there's an inconsistency there, right?
Right.
And so I look at all that and I look at the story that's being told. I understand why people, and especially like a WWE fan base, would love it because it kind of caters to that storytelling mode. But for me, I'm somebody that's more of a purist and was like, I want guys to be challenging for title shots and trying to go after it for world championships. And you could still have moments of like, you know, blood feuds and whatnot and making it personal and animosity, but this doesn't really kind of fit that for me. Having said all of that, I look at everything going on with this feud. I wanted to lean Punk for the win because it would set up for the future challenger for Cody and Cena, which we'll talk about. But I think it's way more interesting if Seth Rollins has Paul Heyman by his side. I think there's a lot more you could do with that, and you can reinvigorate Seth Rollins. And I think it would make Paul Heyman's work a lot more interesting for me personally if he kind of goes in a different direction away from the bloodline, because I don't think he needs the bloodline. I don't think the bloodline needs him, and I don't think he needs the bloodline. So I think something new could be really, really important for Paul Heyman. And I think him pairing up with Seth and doing this big heel gimmick, I think could be very, very interesting. So I'm picking Seth Rollins to get the victory, and also having Paul Heyman as his new manager at the end.
I also think we need to see the old Paul Heyman, the one that was with Brock Lesnar and that would scream when he was given the mic and he didn't cry. You know, like I get what you're saying. It's like it's been a weird kind of arc here with Paul Heyman where he goes from being this badass guy just being and I get what you mean also by being like, there's part of me that goes like, okay, he's the wise man I get the whole bloodline. But then from then on, ever since then, it's kind of been a bit like he was with the bloodline for a little bit with Sokoa, and I got that. And then he kind of changed his ways as well. And the way he was on camera, which was all good cinema. Like you said, for the WWE fan base, that's great. But for the wrestling purists such as yourself, it might deviate from, because you're not really fighting for the championship. You're not fighting for what is really important to a purist like you. It's really just like a feud about nothing. And I do agree that maybe I get that they want to put the storyline as Punk gets the main event WrestleMania, even if it's night 1 of 2, you know. But yeah, I do agree that as good as a match it has the potential of being, I think Uso versus Gunther should have been the main event, just simply because he won the Rumble and it is for the World Championship match.
Yep, and you probably get the big reaction in my case picking Jey Uso. Like, you get the big reaction at the end, all the big babyface reaction to kind of end off the show too.
Absolutely. So. Moving on to night 2 here. What else do I got here? We'll talk about the surprise returns. I got some names here like that I got the potential of seeing. So there's only 6 matches on night 2. So I think there's a potential of adding a match here like they do sometimes. So let's get really quick into a few of these matches because I'm not as interested in some of these matches. Morgan and Rodriguez, the women's tag team champions, versus Bailey and Valkyria. Interesting match here simply for the fact of the combination of Bailey and Lyra Valkyria, the Intercontinental Championship, which is something that I'm kind of like, why doesn't she have a match on the card? She is the Intercontinental Women's Championship, which is a new belt that you came up not that long ago, and it's not being defended. Instead, you're putting her in a match here with the potential of her maybe winning a tag team belt. Again, I picked Morgan and Rodriguez here to retain simply for the fact that I can't see them put the belt on Bailey and Valkyria unless they have a long storyline where they kind of break apart here and Bailey goes heel again. But I feel like they've tried that not that long ago, and I feel like I don't think it's a good decision. I might be wrong. I just don't like if that's the case where they're going. So I'm going to pick Morgan and Rodriguez here to retain the championship.
Yeah, I saw this match in the card, and I'm not going to lie. Of all the WrestleMania matches that have taken place over the 41 years that this event has happened, this is one of those matches that have taken place. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's there. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly moved by it. I also am picking Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, only for the fact that they're kind of the more focused and the more pushed of the acts,
right?
You know, between the two. So why give that up at this stage? And might as well just have them hold the belts here and have them keep going. And so, yeah, I've got Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez retaining. I don't really have too many other thoughts on this one. I did just a match on the card.
I agree. Let's move on. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. Look, I get Logan Paul. I get why they put him on matches. I get it. You're trying to get. It's a money grab. People are gonna. He's like the Floyd Mayweather. People want to see him get his ass kicked. He's getting booed. He's this social media superstar, and you're trying to bring people from the outside of wrestling to watch wrestling, even if it is for WrestleMania. Look, I'm a huge AJ Styles fan. I've been for a long time. He rarely puts a bad match. He's one of those guys like a LA Knight or whatever, which is just every time you could see him in the ring, you know he's going to have a good match, like a Rey Mysterio we mentioned earlier. It's just, look, I don't see Logan Paul winning here. I picked AJ Styles simply because I'm like, I think it would be really bad if Logan Paul ends up going over a future Hall of Famer like AJ Styles. So I'm going to, again, I don't have much to say about it. I think we're going to see some tremendous physical, athletic stuff from Logan Paul here. I think the matchup between these two guys is great. I think they have the potential to work a great match together, but nothing that I'm going to rave about after. I'm picking AJ Styles to get over.
I am going to pick Logan Paul.
All right.
I think they are focused on Logan Paul, and they want to continue to have him grow. I think AJ is one of those guys where you can beat him and he'll be A-okay because he's AJ Styles, and he's got name value. It's kind of like in the other match with Rey Mysterio, where it's Rey Mysterio. People still like him. Right. If he takes a loss, it's going to be okay. There are just certain wrestlers where, you know, if they lose, it's not going to hurt them because they are that wrestler. The big one I always bring up is The Rock back in the day of the Attitude Era.
Right.
Like I don't think people realize he lost so many times in the Attitude Era, but he was The Rock.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter, right? Because he was
right. Yeah.
He was somebody who was able to maintain his heat, maintain his aura. And I think there are just certain wrestlers that because they are who they are, they'll be okay. And so I think it's more impactful and will do more if Logan Paul gets the victory instead of AJ Styles. I also think, too, there's been some underground rumors that AJ Styles' contract is coming up with WWE.
Right. And
there hasn't been talk about any sort of extension. And so this might be the opportunity that WWE sees where they can, you know, all right, well, we're going to, you know, have you lose to this guy. We want you to put this guy over before you leave the company. Because, you know, AJ Styles, he's one of those guys, he feels ageless. He feels timeless.
Right.
Not Tony Storm, but but nonetheless, he's one of those guys that's like, he's ageless, right? Like, I think he's like 47, 48, but he still performs at such a high level. I'm such a big AJ Styles guy, like from his time in TNA to his stuff in New Japan to his stuff in WWE. He's just the model of being a consistent high level wrestler. But having said all that, I think Logan Paul, I know a lot of people don't like him and I understand why. But I think in terms of just looking at him from an in-ring standpoint, I think he's somebody that's continuing to get better. I think he's a high-level athlete, and I think there's more stuff that they could do. The big thing that I want from Logan Paul now is just to kind of evolve a little bit more and have a little bit more depth to his character. But otherwise, I think he's going to be beating AJ Styles here.
So second one that we disagree. So you go, Jay. I'm trying to keep track of these. The next match on the list that I have is one of my favorite matches here. I'm looking forward to. I normally don't like four-ways here, fatal four-ways, but the people in this match just bring me joy in this match. Braun Breaker, the Intercontinental Champion, puts his title on the line versus Penta versus Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio here. I think this has the potential to be a great match, maybe match of the night here, maybe match of the weekend. I love Finn Balor. I've been a Finn Balor fan since day one. I've seen him in NXT. I loved his work. I think they should be doing a lot more with him, but that's another story for another day. Braun Breaker is just unbelievable. Explosiveness, just everything he does in the ring, the energy he brings. I mean, it's hard to contain him in the squared circle when he's in there. He's just chaotic and explosive, and I love it. Penta, I love that they've been pushing him. He's been in WWE for a very short time, but they're already giving him and I get it. He's over with the crowd. These luchadors are just like a Rey Mysterio. It's the same thing. I wasn't impressed by him at the beginning. I thought his in-ring was lackluster sometimes in some of these matches. From what I remember him in AEW, I think he was maybe a bit more freedom also in AEW to do a lot more crazy shit. I got Dominic Mysterio here pinning Finn Balor and becoming the new Intercontinental Champion. And then after that, I think there's might be a build to that Mysterio versus Balor. But I got Dominic Mysterio getting over here.
Yeah, this was the one that I went against, and I went against it on the podcast, and then I thought about it more after we recorded. I'm like, shit, I think they're right. Because I'm going to stick with it just for the continuity's sake. I think Braun Breaker's going to retain. I love Braun Breaker. I love this character that he's been putting together. He's just a guy that's going out there and kicking ass. So
Did you
simple.
see the spear last week?
I loved it. It was so good. The memes about it were hilarious. You know, the dog going to see their owner for the first time or whatever. It was so good. I loved it. It was awesome. He's fantastic. He's kind of had the opposite effect of what's happened with Tiffany Stratton, where I found in NXT, you could tell there was some potential, but he didn't really have the charisma. The confidence wasn't really there. And I was hoping for that explosiveness for a gimmick like his. It wasn't really adding up in NXT. He goes to the main roster and he finds it.
Right.
And he finds it.
Because normally it's the opposite, right? A lot of the good guys from NXT, they come to the roster and then it dies down. And like, I don't get it. But
I don't understand.
Completely opposite. Absolutely. I 100% agree.
So I think him going to the main roster was such a big thing for his career, because there was a time when I was looking at Braun Breaker and, you know, I would hear stuff about him being, you know, the next big future star of WWE and the face of the company. And I was thinking, man, like, he doesn't even have the charisma in order to do that. And now that he's kind of on the main roster, they're giving him some stuff to work with. And they're just saying, hey, go be a Steiner, right? Like, go be a Steiner. And lo and behold, when you have the guy be in his natural element, he feels more confident and he feels like he could get over, and the crowd comes with it, right? So I love Braun Breaker. He's one of my favorite acts in the entirety of WWE, because it's just a simple gimmick, but it works so effectively well. I am going on to the Dominic Mysterio front, because I've noticed more people are picking him. I'm not the biggest Dominic Mysterio guy. I find that they smoke and mirrors the hell out of him in his matches, and there's a reason why he's in a four-way and not in a singles match, because he could be somebody where he could go in, do some of his spots, and then they throw him out of the ring, and he could just stay out of the ring and wait for his turn to do his sequence after like 3 or 4 minutes. And then, you know, what could happen, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, damn, it probably is going to be him.
Right.
Is Dominic Mysterio comes in late in the end and then steals the victory, like you said, pinning Finn Balor.
Right.
So I understand why they're picking that. Maybe there's a part of me that's like, man, I really don't want to see Dominic Mysterio as an Intercontinental champ or any champion for that matter. And maybe it's me trying to get like a protest vote or something like that. So that's why I picked Braun Breaker to retain. But the more that you laid it out and when Lee laid it out, I'm like, shit, I think they're right. I think it's me, Dom Mysterio.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't hate that Braun Breaker retains because I'm like you. I'm a huge fan of his. He's just so explosive, so amazing in the ring. And like you said, it's just, he's in his element now on the main roster. The booking for him has been great. I think that's one of the aspects that WWE has been able to book him a lot better than they did in the NXT, and it's helped him a lot. And I think that he just has more freedom. I think it fits better to be around the alphas. I hate using that word, but he's around alphas now instead of being around guys that I just never saw a fit in him in NXT because like you, I thought he deserves to be on the main roster. He deserves to be against those championship guys. So I wouldn't hate against it, but I'm going to stick with Dominic Mysterio here. Next match, Damian Priest versus McIntyre. This is a Sin City street fight. It's going to be a great match. Obviously, it's going to be a street fight. I'm not opposed to these types of matches, especially on a card like WrestleMania. I remember old matches. I'm trying to think of a match that I remember. It doesn't matter, but I think this has the potential to be a really good match simply because it is a street fight. So no DQ. You're going to see a lot of crazy spots here, but am I excited about this match? I'm not the biggest Damian Priest fan. I'll be honest. I'm not sold on him. I wasn't sold on him when he was the world champion. Still yet, I feel like they're lacking of building him properly. He's very athletic. He's very good in the ring. He's good in the ring. I wouldn't say he's very good. He's good in the ring. I love McIntyre though. Drew McIntyre has done some of his best heel work in the last year. With the feud, ever since he feuded with Punk, and even before that, I think I just think he's done, his mic work is elevated. He's elevated himself on the mic and his promos. So I'm going to pick Drew McIntyre here to get over in this Sin City street fight.
Yeah, I'm also picking McIntyre. I wish they could do more with him for this WrestleMania instead of being in this match.
Right.
And I feel like he's earned it with the feud he had last year with Punk. And but it's one of those deals where somebody has to get left off or they have to be lower on the card and you have to make those tough choices. I wouldn't have made that choice personally, but it is how it is. I think the match will be fun enough for a street fight.
Right.
No DQ, no holds barred, extreme rules, you name it. It's essentially a hardcore match, right?
It sucks for McIntyre. I mean, he went through the Hell in a Cell with Punk, which the bumps he took were crazy, and now he's probably going to be forced to take these bumps here. And I wish they would have kept the eye patch on him. Like seeing him wrestle with an eye patch is kind of cool.
Right.
Like, fuck,
that would be quite the challenge.
Yeah,
wrestling with the one
eye.
eye.
They could do something where he could see through.
PCO was able to wrestle with one eye for many years
but
too.
PCO is out of his fucking mind though. Like,
and that's true.
Have you seen
that's also
that
true.
guy? Like, I love him, but I was in the ring with him once, like a long time ago. Like,
oh wow,
yeah, very short. We were wrestling once in Saint-Hyacinthe, and he was on the card. And then at the end, there was an extra match that was added because something happened, and one of the guys that was supposed to be in the match got injured early on in the night, so he couldn't be in the match. So I'm already undressed. I'm already got my gear packed. I'm getting ready to leave. And I already had a match that night, and they're like, yo, you want to stay and wrestle in a 3-way? It was 3 versus 3, and he was on my team. So we ended up doing this quick match at the end, like an extra match. It was pretty bad. I have this picture where I'm in the ring with him. It was quite an experience, but I'm sure they could have done something where McIntyre, because I just thought he looked really badass with the eye patch.
Absolutely. Do you think that by the way, before we move on, I gotta make this joke. I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Instead of thumbtacks in for the match, do you think they'll use like poker chips because they're in Las Vegas and they have to like spread the poker chips around?
Instead of Legos, it'll be like, I just feel like there's no pain to it. Like,
no, it's more for the visual gag of like, my God, who could foresee poker chips in the Sin City street fight?
Everybody's it'll be these special edition WrestleMania poker chips, right? Because
that's right.
You know what? Triple H, maybe he's listening. Triple H, if you're listening to this episode before WrestleMania, maybe you'll see it. Maybe we sold him. The next match, two match remaining here. Women's championship. I believe it's the SmackDown Women's Championship. Io Sky
Yes.
champion versus Belair versus Ripley. Listen, I love Io Sky. And was I surprised when she beat Ripley a few weeks ago to get the championship? Yes, I was. Do I understand why? I do now. I think this build up to this match was one of the more, I wouldn't say clumsiest one. I'm just like, we didn't need to go through all of that to get here. Like, this could have been so, it should have been like, Belair was there in the match. That just end up with, we all know where we're going to end up. It's going to end up in triple threat. They in the middle of it, they gave Ripley her rematch. The match didn't even last that long. And with a special referee, I thought it was so clunky the way they built up, but we're here. This also has the potential to be a great match. I mean, every single wrestler in this match, I think, is great physically in this match. Look, I was so up in the air with this. I don't know at all where they're going with this storyline. So I just kind of picked Io Sky to retain simply for the fact that I'm like, they just put the belt on her. Like, I get that sometimes they do that and they'll take it. I know a lot of people I've heard that they think Belair is going to win and there might be a heel turn in there somewhere. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, but I'm going to pick Io Sky in what might be a very entertaining triple threat match.
Yeah, I also picked Bianca Belair. I was kind of going in with the mindset of what happens with the Jade Cargill-Naomi match will kind of carry over into this match with Bianca Belair. They continue that story. I thought it was going to be Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill going into this match because, you know, they were tag team champions and then they had the splits, but now it's gone in a different direction where Naomi is involved and Naomi wants her revenge on Jade Cargill, but Bianca Belair is going to get the title shot. Like, I think they kind of, sometimes, and this is my big thing with all of wrestling, not just WWE, sometimes I think they just overthink it and they want to have too many things going on.
This is a perfect example of overthinking it.
Sometimes, you know, it's okay to keep it simple, right?
Right.
We have a phrase in radio called KISS, and it stands for keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of when I see some of this stuff. It's like, just keep it simple. You don't have to overthink it. You're not, like, I know that, you know, in this modern age of wrestling, there's a little bit more of a demand for what stories are kind of brought, but we're not exactly going out there and writing Shakespeare, you know?
Yeah,
like this is pro wrestling at the end of the day. And so I think I kind of wanted, I think they overthought this a little bit.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of led to, you know, you have Io Sky in there, and I like Io Sky, but I'm like, she's kind of there. And Bianca Belair, like, I really like Bianca Belair. I feel like they've kind of been, I feel like they've under-delivered with her. She could do so much more for them. And then Rhea Ripley obviously has been such a big star for them, had been a big featured women's wrestler for them. I don't see her getting the belt back. I think it'll be better for Rhea Ripley to just continue on with the chase, and they could just do the stuff with Belair and do the title defenses with Bianca Belair moving forward. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the three-way.
Good. Before we get to the main event, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, I want to bring your attention to Randy Orton. So a couple weeks ago, we saw the announcement that Kevin Owens had to leave because he hurt his neck and he was going to have surgery on his neck. Apparently a very serious injury to his neck. At first, I really thought I'm like, is this real? I'm like, because the storyline, he hurt Sami Zayn. The neck was worked on Sami Zayn's storyline, right? And then Randy Orton was left for a little bit because he got pile drive. It was a neck injury. So when he came to the ring and he said, "Oh, I got a bum neck. I got to leave. I got to get surgery." I'm like, no, wait a minute. This is not going to happen. Like, is this really a storyline? And I'm still not convinced it's a real storyline. I feel like there's still a potential of Kevin Owens coming on WrestleMania, but I think I've kind of accepted the fact that it's real and that there's a potential that this is extremely serious and that we might not see Kevin Owens again or for a very long time. So any chance that you think they're going to add a match here with Randy Orton? I have names here. So obviously the number one rumor is that Nick Aldis might be in a match versus Randy Orton, which I'm like, At first, I was like, yeah, maybe makes sense. He RKO'd him twice, but I'm like, are we really going to see Nick Aldis have a match on a WrestleMania card when he's never had a match in WWE? So do you think Randy Orton is going to have a match on night 2 of WrestleMania?
I do. WWE's mindset with a lot of these is kind of throw as many people on the card as you can. It's not exactly my favorite mindset because I feel like you got to earn your spot on the card as opposed to like this idea of like, well, we got to make sure we got everybody on the card so that they all have their WrestleMania moments. But I think in this case, when you have Randy Orton, so I might be in the minority here. I've never been the biggest Randy Orton guy. I have found him. I know it's kind of a bit of a hot take. I know I get a lot of shit from other wrestlers when I say that.
One of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
That's what I get. And I understand, but I find him so boring. I'm sorry. I try. I really try. Look,
I understand that you find it boring. That I will say that I am just such a fan. He's like Rey Mysterio, what I said earlier. Like he is so consistent in his matches. And as a guy that's been in the ring, when I see him work, I appreciate how he works. See, that's the difference. If I wasn't a wrestler, I'd probably be like, yeah, he's boring. Because it can be his style of, it's always the same, right? His matches are almost all delivered the same way. I get it. It's just
that's my issue.
There's so much appreciation for how good he makes other people look in the ring and himself. He looks like a wrestler. He's the perfect build for a wrestler, perfect size. It's just beautiful face, everything. He's got everything. But I get it. I get it. So sorry to interrupt.
I understand, and trust me, like I hear it from other wrestlers, like Zach, how could you be in this business?
Blasphemy! You do not say that about Randy Orton.
I know, and I understand. I get it. But man, I just find him to be. I get it. He's smooth. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler. For the record.
No, I get it.
I think he's a guy that his fundamentals are super sound. I'm not taking that away from him. I think he's buttery smooth in the ring. I'm not taking away from that. But it's like what you said. I feel like I've seen the same Randy Orton match for 15 years now. And I'm like, man, I just find him very uninspired. Like, oh, here we go. He's going to stomp on a body part now. Oh, here we go. He's got the headlock locked in and it's just cinched in, right? Like, oh, great. Awesome. Like, look, I get it. In terms of look, in terms of size, in terms of pedigree, background, all that. I totally get it. I get it. I feel like I'm trying to fend off a bunch of people right now, but I'm finding my way out. But I just found he's had the same match, and I just find his stuff uninspired, and especially nowadays where I think it's pretty clear that back surgery he's had has really impacted him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you thought he was slow beforehand, oh my God, he's much more slower now.
Definitely.
So I was never the biggest Orton guy to begin with. So having said all that, I think because of the name factor and the recognition that he has and the star power, I think you have to have him on the card. Am I exactly enthused about a Randy Orton versus Nick Aldis match? Not necessarily, but I get it. I kind of threw out some ideas. You have some guys like Rusev is kind of waiting in the wings.
I was gonna say, I wrote down Rusev. I'm like, there's apparently a rumor that Rusev is coming back, and there's other names like Aleister Black as well. I'm like, I couldn't see Aleister Black because I think he deserves something different. But a Rusev, even though that you bring in Rusev to lose to Randy Orton, like, because you got to think, like, if they're gonna put Randy Orton in a match here, he's not gonna lose a match. I might be wrong, but. So he
doesn't strike me as that sort of guy, to be quite honest. And so I think Nick Aldis is a guy. He's somebody that's been wanting to get back in the ring. Like, make no mistake about it. Like, he's happy he's doing the GM stuff. But if you were to ask him, you put the truth serum in him, he wants to be in the ring for that company. He's been wanting to go into the ring forever. So I think he sees this as an opportunity. Is like, not only am I going to get a WrestleMania match, I'm going to have a match with Randy Orton, who's a recognizable name in WWE. And I think in his mind, I don't want to speak for him, but I assume, in his mind, it's like, this is a great opportunity, and I get to be on WrestleMania, I get to wrestle Randy Orton, and I finally, get it to WWE, right? That's been something he's wanted to do, so I think that's the strong likelihood. I would love it to be like an Aleister Black or Rusev or somebody, but I think the way that they've kind of laid it out, I think with the cards kind of stacked against them with the Kevin Owens injury, which sucks. I love that guy, but I think it's going to be Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton.
All right. brings us to the main event of night 2, which is the main event of the whole weekend here. The match that everybody's been waiting for. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. Man, I'm back and forth in this one. I'll be honest, I get it. I remember you telling me before Chamber, John Cena's going to win, and then he's going to go on to WrestleMania, and he's going to win his 17th title. And I was like, you're right. I think you're right. But I'm like, okay, I get it. I get the whole beat the record, retirement tour, a champion. And then the heel turn happened. And then in my opinion, I was like, wait a minute. I'm all impressed that they were willing to pull. They were like, yo, we're going to turn this guy heel. And it was shocking. I did not expect that at all. I thought Cody Rhodes was going to go heel, but I was wrong. Obviously, Cena's the heel. The build-up, it's been clunky, promo after promo after promo. They did most of the build-up when they were in Europe, so it was just, I get it. He got booed out of the building. Here's my point with all this. You got Cena as a heel, number one. So if he wins on Sunday, you have to imagine that there's going to be some sort of fuckery where The Rock gets involved, Travis Scott, whoever, someone is getting involved in this match. It's not going to be, I can't see Cena beating Cody Rhodes clean 1, 2, 3, hit him with the attitude adjustment 1, 2, 3, I think, which whatever the end goes. My point is, my big concern is what then? You put the belt on him. He's a heel. You keep the belt on him until, I don't know, let's say December when he, quote unquote, is supposed to have his last match. We all expect him to have his last match at the end of the year at a certain point. You're going to remove the belt off of him. You're going to end John Cena's career as a heel. He's going to go out in the distance and to go out and never be seen again. And the last memory you're going to be of him is of a heel. Like, there's just something that I just can't connect there. I'm not willing to make that jump and be content with John Cena winning as a heel and then defending and eventually losing to Cody Rhodes or whoever, a face, and then just going out in the sunset and moving on to his Hollywood career and just being remembered as a heel. I mean, I saw footage today of this big wall that they have in Vegas where they have people signing thank you Cena for, I think it's 25 years, right? They have all the mannequins of him, them wearing every single t-shirt he ever had lined up. Like, people have an attachment to John Cena, and we all boo him right now because of the heel turn. A lot of people still buy his merch. I think a lot of kids still want to clap and cheer for him. Having said all that, John Cena is going to win on Sunday, and he's going to beat Ric Flair's record. He's going to become the 17th time world champion, and whatever happens after, happens after. I'm not willing to even start to think or contemplate where the storyline goes after this. But I'm going to stick with John Cena here. I think John Cena wins his 17th and breaks the record. You?
When I picked John Cena to win his 17th at WrestleMania, I did not have it in mind that he would be a heel when he came into WrestleMania because I thought we would never see it.
Right.
And we ended up seeing it. And I've seen the last couple of weeks in terms of his promos and, I've kind of mentioned it at the top of the show. It's been clunky. It's not worked out. It's kind of been funny because he's been going out there saying, oh, you all have been booing me the last couple of years. I'm like, it's kind of been the opposite, John. Like, This isn't 2016 anymore. Like, you're not there as much anymore. So now you're treated more as a legend that's coming back. And, some of the content he had been saying in the promo, some of it was really good. Like, saying that the WWE fans are awful. They've been awful to him and pointing at that kid in the crowd and saying, you've been awful. Like, the kid, just the poor look on his face when he saw that. It was fantastic. But then there's other elements of it where it's like, you all booed me for the spinner belts. And I was like, the spinner belt was like 20 years ago. Like, we're at like our second different belt iteration here. Like, let's move on. So all that to say, going in, this was really tough to pick for me between the two because I could see both ends. I was leaning towards Cody winning because it just didn't seem right to me that John Cena would win his 17th world championship as a heel.
Right.
And it still doesn't feel right to me.
Same thing. It was the same thing for me.
That doesn't feel right. And so I was like, maybe this is part of a story. They did the heel turn so that they could say that they could do it. And the story could be that Cena kind of realizes the error of his ways and finds himself again, goes back to the old C Nation, never give up sort of guy, so that eventually in his last match, he wins the world title and he can retire as a champion. So that was my thought process. Then all the stuff with The Rock happened. And I have to think that The Rock is going to get involved in the main event somehow, some way.
Absolutely.
Like, it can't just have Rock and Travis Scott, like a legitimate worldwide known rapper who shoot potatoed Cody Rhodes in the middle of the ring. Yeah. And just not mention it ever again in one of the biggest angles that they've ever done in company history. I feel like Rock has to be involved, and if Rock is going to get involved, I feel like Cena would have to win. So that's where I have my sort of dilemma. So I'm going to pick Cena to win on the caveat that The Rock shows up to kind of help out. If The Rock doesn't show up, I think Cody's winning.
Right.
But I feel like there's more to the story that they want to do. And I think it's going to be The Rock kind of coming in, helping Cena win. And that's how he gets his 17th world title. Again, it doesn't feel right to me. It just feels off. And I don't want to pick it. But I think they have to continue on with the angle that they put in. And again, if Rock's involved, I don't think they have a choice. I think they have to move forward with Cena as champion. And you look at the other thing too, something I forgot to mention in the podcast episode, so I'll mention it here. Cena has more dates over the next little bit. They added a bunch of dates for Cena, almost as if a world champion would work those sort of dates. You know what I mean? So I look at that and I look at the angle with The Rock, and I'm like, I think Cena's winning. So I'm going to pick John Cena to win. Again, I'm kind of reluctant on that because it doesn't feel right to me. But I think that's their plan, and I think they're going to move forward with that.
I've tried to manifest or to come up with a story where, like you mentioned earlier, he turns he's the heel now, but he eventually goes back to being a face before he has his last match. Some sort of like, I've realized the error of my ways and it didn't, or maybe he fails at WrestleMania and it just doesn't go his way, because there's the potential. Here's what I'm still sticking with Cena simply because I brought it down, but here's a scenario of fantasy booking here. The Rock can show up to try and help Cody, but then someone else shows up to help Cody Rhodes. Someone like Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a slight rumor I've been hearing that he's in Vegas this weekend. Obviously, he lives in Reno, which is not that far away. It's very close by. They've the rumor of when The Rock was beating up Cody Rhodes last year in the parking lot. In the background, there was a WWE truck that had Stone Cold and John Cena on the truck, that people are insinuating that might be what happened. Again, if you're not going to put Cena over at WrestleMania, there has to kind of be something where he goes like, oh shit, what did I do? Did I just ruin my legacy by aligning myself to The Rock? And then he comes out and he kind of goes, I was wrong. Can you forgive me? And then the crowd gets behind him, and then he eventually gets his 17th title, maybe at SummerSlam or maybe somewhere else down the line. But again, then that would mean that you're forcing a face Cody Rhodes to give him a rematch against a face John Cena, which I am not a fan for championship match of having a face versus face. It just doesn't seem to work, especially with the style of John Cena. He's limited now in the ring. Like, let's not be thinking he was never the greatest in-ring tactical wrestler. And now you're putting him with he's older, not as mobile, it's just not the same. But again, it's just, I'm having a hard time convincing myself that as a heel, he's like you, he's going to get over here. But I have to stick with it because I feel like they've put so much behind him and they've put so much that I can't see him not eventually breaking the record and getting his 17th world championship, and then not having it at WrestleMania for me kind of feels like it's missed opportunity. So even though I'm not 100% happy about the whole heel turn and having Cena go over to win in what is potentially in a non-clean fashion, you know, where I get it. Ric Flair probably didn't win all his championship titles fair and square. There's always some fuckery around, but you know what I mean, though? It's John Cena, and he's breaking the record. Like, it's like having an asterisk. Like, Barry Bonds had all this home run, but you got to put the asterisk. It's like, yeah, John Cena's the champion, but The Rock was there and stuff. But
right,
I'm not gonna put it past WWE to come up with a way to make it all make sense after Sunday, and you're like, oh my God, this was crazy. Like I said, like a Stone Cold. If I hear the breaking glass, every time I hear Stone Cold is by far my favorite wrestler of all time. And when I hear that glass breaking, it's just like, I'm like, woo, like I'm goosebumps every time. It's like, fuck yeah. So I'm hoping that at a certain point during the night, even if it's not in the main event, that we hear the glass break and we see Stone Cold. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm extremely looking forward to the main event in night 2.
For sure. It should be interesting, this show.
Yeah, I think we've gone through all the notes. We mentioned Rusev and Aleister Black. I think, again, I mentioned these names, a surprise return. Potential we see Becky Lynch return at any point during WrestleMania or even after. Do you think she's done with wrestling?
I don't think she's done with wrestling. I think she'll find a way back. I think she just kind of took the time off to kind of help raise her kid, her and Seth's kids. So, you know, I could definitely see her coming back here, but I don't think she's coming back quite yet. I mean, if there is the time to have her come back, it would be now, but I don't see her coming back at this stage.
Zach, before I let you go, I want to put another fantasy booking. I just remembered something. My son sent me a video the other day on Instagram, and I wouldn't put past it because of the whole 2 fingers or 3 people, you know, the Rocky does. Everybody seems to think there's someone else missing. What about Jey Uso wins the title on Saturday at the main event, and then he comes in and he helps John Cena, and they both... So The Rock has both championships by his side.
So you know what's funny? My Lee told me this exact scenario with, you know,
right,
because we talked about the weirdest throat slit in the history.
It was like there's something to
even call it a throat slit, I think is very, you know, is like, oh, okay.
It goes like this, like you mentioned, like you could see him put 2 up, like what the fuck does that mean?
And they did this like disappearing act, and it was like, are you doing like a magic trick, Dwayne? Like, what's going on here? You know, I heard that theory. I don't know. I don't love it. Like, I just Jey Uso with The Rock.
Yeah.
You know, like
all
that's
work
the big thing.
To build you up as this yeet guy, and all of a sudden,
to have this big babyface reaction, only just have him turn heel and be part of Dwayne. I mean, I can't rule anything out in wrestling, like, but I would say it's a very low percentage. But I remember Lee laid it out, and he was like, this could be like this big super group, and it's like, you know, you have Cena and Rock and Uso, and maybe Seth Rollins also turns heel, and Heyman is part of that group too. And I
read that
like,
too.
Wow.
I just don't think it's feasible, simply because I don't think you can have The Rock show up on TV that often for it to make sense, you know?
Yeah. So I have a tough time with it. It would be interesting if that's the path that they go, but I don't think that's the path they're going. I think sometimes with wrestling, you see things and you're like, you don't understand. And that's mainly because it's not meant to be understood. It's just a guy doing shit just to, like, you know, with the Rock stuff, it's like, I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of people are looking into it. And I love that fans like try and look deeper into stuff and try and answer it. But with Dwayne, I feel like he's just like, this kind of looks fucking cool if I do this and I do this. Like because I'm The Rock, you know, like this is kind of cool.
That's my shit.
It looks like something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I heard the theory because Jey Uso also came out with Travis Scott as well, and so that's where the connection is.
Right.
It's like, I got it. Like, I understand. I look at that more as happenstance than calculated, you know, and then on this edition of Raw, we're gonna do this.
Right.
And then on this edition of SmackDown, we're gonna do this. And then on Elimination Chamber, we'll do this. I don't think it's that calculated. If anyone's been around wrestling and how last minute everything is in pro wrestling, especially like for us working indies, like there's so many things that happen last minute. I would be stunned if something like that was so long-term coordinated planned. So
I agree with you. Just an idea I saw floating around that was interesting. If you're still listening, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking around for this WrestleMania edition of Blue Collar Sports. Zach, thank you for taking your time on this Thursday night. The episode will be out as soon as possible so that people can listen to it before WrestleMania on Saturday. Looking forward to watching both nights. It's a great weekend, Easter weekend, so it's going to be great. Thanks again. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, SVGTV on YouTube, subscribe now so you don't miss any future episodes. Zach, again, it was a pleasure talking wrestling today with you. Looking forward to talking some sports because next episode, I'm sure we'll be in the NHL playoffs, Midway, NBA playoffs. Still got some football stuff going on. I think we could all talk about all sorts of different things. Major League Baseball is getting hot right now. My Giants are, they're in a tough division right now, but they're winning baseball. They lost today, but I mean, they're beating good teams. They're like 13-5 or 13-6. The Dodgers. All sorts of storyline. Looking forward to our next episode, Zach. Again, thank you for taking time out of your busy week for Blue Collar Sports. And again, we'll see you again on the next episode of Blue Collar Sports.